Hello, and thank you for joining us for Humanities DC 2020 Youth Media Literacy Grant webinar. My name is Andrea Carroll, and I'm a grants manager with Humanities DC. So we like to start most of our webinars and workshops with just an overview of who we are and what we do so that everyone knows that information. Sometimes we have people who have worked with us over the years who are familiar with Humanities DC, and sometimes we have new organizations and people interested in partnerships and programs. So the Humanities Council of Washington, D.C. Is one of 56 humanities councils throughout the United States and its territories. So each of those humanities councils are affiliates of the National Endowment for the Humanities. We are a separate nonprofit organization. We are not a federal agency, nor are we a district agency. We do receive funds from the federal government as well as the District of Columbia. We conduct humanities-based programming throughout all of DC. Our mission is to enrich the quality of life, foster intellectual stimulation, promote cross-cultural understanding, and to promote appreciation of local history in all neighborhoods of DC through humanities programs and grants. So our vision, our vision at Humanities DC, we believe that in-depth consideration of the issues that affect us as individuals in a society can make a positive impact on our lives, and believes each citizen can participate in our vision to transform lives through the power of the humanities. So with every program and grant opportunity, we want to make certain that we are transforming lives through the power of the humanities. And so speaking of the humanities, what are the humanities? So those are, this is a question that is asked of us a lot in kind of one shape or form, so that people can really just focus on identifying and really pulling out what humanities work that they're doing if they are not clear, because humanities is so broad. And so I just like to say in general that it's how people process the human experience. And I think right now we are going through a great human experience as we are living through COVID-19. So I know this will be definitely a documented period for the humanities. But the humanities, it tells us what it means to be human. And so with a lot of the focal points, especially on a lot of our projects, specifically our oral history, is our history, our stories past. So a lot of projects, even if history is not the only discipline, it reigns in a lot of our humanities work, especially when we're talking about really capturing things that happen in the District of Columbia. So our stories past, our stories expressions, and our stories values are kind of three buckets that we put humanities in to just make it easier for people to understand, whether it be the history, linguistics, philosophy, comparative literature. But that's kind of a general definition that we use to help people along in determining their humanities work. So today I want to talk to you guys about the 2020 Youth Media Literacy Grant Program. This is a new opportunity for us. We have done work through the Mellon Foundation in the past, but for this year, the Media Literacy Grant Program is new. So through the Andrew Mellon Foundation, the Federation of State Humanities Councils receive support under a program called the Democracy and the Informed Citizen. From that, the state federation allows local humanities organizations, those 56, to apply for funding under democracy and the informed citizen. So Humanities DC was awarded funds so that we can re-grant that money to our local organizations who are supporting youth media literacy. So we're very excited to add this grant program to our portfolio. The democracy and the informed citizen will examine the connections between democracy, the humanities, and journalism. And so that is what our charge was when we sought after the funding. And so we will now, we were able to shape a program that we think is befitting for the District of Columbia. So we'll be looking for applicants who are proposing. We are looking for modules and or lesson plans that will teach students in the programs the fundamentals of media literacy while incorporating the humanities. So HDC will award 3 grants to organizations that are currently conducting humanities programming in Washington, D.C. So the organization must be in Washington, D.C. and must serve 12 to 18-year-olds. And we're looking for each program to serve at minimum 30 students. The award will be $10,000. We are now requesting any preliminary applications or any LOIs. Just simply go into our portal and apply for the program. Incomplete or late applications will not be considered. So the application period for your program, so your program must run from July 15th, 2020 to March 15th, 2021, and the application deadline is March 19th, 2020. So right now, our application deadline is, it stands as May 19th. What we will be looking at due to COVID-19 is possibly making some adjustments to the actual grant program timeline, grant period. So the July 15th to March 15th, it may begin in July 15th, but we may expand the timeline to give you some more preparation because we are not certain to date, which is, mid-April, mid to late April, that when things will be open, will summer programs happen, and we will really be watching that closely to be able to assist all programs in making certain that the applications that you guys submit to us, that you will have ample time to do the work. So what we are looking for. So we are looking for, of course, a media literacy program that will incorporate the humanities. You must have strong community partnerships. We are looking for each program to have a Pulitzer Prize nominee as a part of the program, strong scholar involvement, which would entail having a humanities scholar as a part of the program, which we recommend for all of our programs and grant programs, and final products that I mentioned, the lesson plans or modules. And then you will work closely with HDC grant officers like myself throughout the grant time period. And I'll go through each of these for you. So media literacy, what is it? And so we pulled the definition from the Center for Media Literacy so that we could be clear and use a industry standard definition for the program. Media literacy is a 21st century approach to education. It provides a framework to access, analyze, evaluate, and create messages in a variety of forms, from print to video to the internet. Media literacy builds an understanding of the role of media in society, as well as essential skills of inquiry and self-expression necessary for citizens of a democracy. And so that is the definition that we'll use for the grant application and throughout the life of the grant project. So incorporating the humanities, all of the programs must identify one or more humanities disciplines that will be used to teach media literacy to the participants. So within your grant application, please spell out your media literacy program and how you will weave the humanities disciplines into your lesson plans, into your teaching, into your program. Community partnerships are a huge part of Humanities DC. We are unable to do our work without our community partners, without our grantees, and those extensions of our grantees within the community. So we want to know, who are your community partners? Who are you working with for your media literacy program, and how will your program benefit the community? How actively involved in its creation has the community been within your organization, or will it be? And how are you planning for that to happen? And then how will you solicit community and or public scholar input is important. So we really like you to take a look at that piece of your program and make sure that you are submitting and letting us know about your community partnerships. So a Pulitzer Prize nominee. So this is something that we do not have as a part of any of our other grant programs. So each of the submitted applications must bring in at least one Pulitzer Prize nominee. So a nominated journalist. So someone who was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize in journalism to engage with the participants. And we want to know, how will the engagement take place? What will be the expected outcomes? An ideal application will have solidified commitment from a Pulitzer Prize nominee. If not, we want to know, how will you secure the nominee? How will you incorporate them into your program? If you have potential people that you're working with and haven't been able to solidify it, just let us know how you're working on that and what that looks like. But again, ideal applications will have that partnership solidified when you hit submit. So we're really looking forward to that level of engagement with our media literacy programs. And no, you don't have to have a commitment that your Pulitzer Prize nominee will attend every session, but we want their involvement, we want their feedback, we want their encouragement, we want them to work with your participants. And so we're really looking forward to see what you guys come up with in that area. So what is a scholar? We request humanities scholars on all of our projects, and this requirement has not changed. A scholar may be a working academic professional with an advanced degree in a humanities discipline. And we prefer that to be humanities disciplines that are closely related to your project and the disciplines that you've selected. The scholar does not always have to have an academic background or be an academic professional. And that's fine. But when you have this person, we want to refer to them more as a subject matter expert, and we are looking for that to be documented in your application. So we'll request for a humanities scholar. If you have someone that is more of a subject matter expert, please submit to us their resume or their CV and let us know how this person is a subject matter expert and how they will assist with your project. Again, either case, the scholar must be included in the application narrative and how they'll support your project. So the final products, we are looking for lesson plans, which will be 2 of them, your program to be piloted, and an evaluation period to happen within this time period. And then your final product will be housed in the DC Digital Museum. So I didn't make a slide for the individual for each of these 4 points. They are located in the RFP, but I'll go into them briefly for you. So for each applicant, there are 3 outputs. The first one are lesson plans. And so we will need, as your final product, that will be your tangible item that will be submitted to the DC Digital Museum. We are requesting that the lesson plans deal directly with the teaching of media literacy through humanities. So your program, we are requesting that the outline of the lesson plans follow the National Endowment for the Humanities EdCitement website. And so if you go to the EdCitement website, you will be able to see what the outline for the lesson plans are, and we'll be looking for you to shape them around that structure. So once awarded, the grantees, we will go through those lesson plans and how to do that. And what that looks like. But for the application, please refer to the Excitement website so that you can shape and have a framework within your application for us. But again, as a grantee, we will move you through that process to your final product to make certain that it is exactly what we want. So pilot program. So all of the awarded applicants, you'll pilot those lessons through this application period. And so be prepared that when you are awarded the grant, your program will take place. You will pilot these lessons that you will submit to us. And the programs can be any out of school time program. It can be a summer program. It can be an in-school program. So we're looking for a multitude of things, which is why we'll be basing that grant period on how our lives evolve within the next few months. So please take that into consideration when you're applying. We are paying attention to that and noting that if you have a summer program, that things will need to be adjusted. And even if you have a school time program, the timelines may need to be adjusted. So please note that we definitely are laser focused on that. Then the third thing is an evaluation. We are looking for you to evaluate your pilot program. So you should focus the evaluation on both the qualitative and the quantitative metrics that may include case studies. I love case studies. Some people aren't a fan of them. Reading them, it feels like gives me a lot of detail, feels like I'm there and can take those examples and move forward with emulating programs and things like that, that any of those metrics will work in your evaluation. But please outline what that would look like, and we will, your budget can accommodate that as well. It's recommended that you do have a portion of your budget is outlined for evaluation. A lot of times it's in program planning. We miss the mark on evaluation, so we just want to make certain that we are looking in the beginning of our programs and how they'll be evaluated so they can be useful to those who come after us. So those are the three components. And again, your final project will be housed in HumanitiesDC's DC Digital Museum. So the DC Digital Museum is a free online museum. And so when we submit those to the museum, anybody will be able to access them. So we want your peers and other people in education and program and youth engagement to be able to take a look at what we've worked on and what we have piloted and evaluated so that they can mirror these programs as well. So those will be housed in the DC Digital Museum. So working closely with HDC grant staff. So just as an overview of that, so we really do like to pride ourselves on having kind of a partnership level with our grantees and going through more of a cohort experience. So the other grantees that will be a part of the media literacy grant program, we will have capacity building sessions, some webinars, some in person, and they will be led by what your feedback is from us when we meet at the awards meeting, when we meet and when we talk throughout the grant process. And so hopefully we'll be able to provide each of the grantees with more information, professional development, capacity building than when you started the program. The oversight of the program will also be done by myself. So we will have our reports, financial and program narrative. You will have all of my information as an awarded grantee to contact me throughout the grant process for support. It's a sounding board here, giving advice. I've definitely helped when there have been challenges. I definitely will celebrate when there have been wins. I like to visit. We'll definitely visit the media literacy programs to offer my support, not only to, and look at the program, but to support the staff and your students and the youth that we are providing the programming to. So application narrative. Just a few points. We talk about our transforming lives through the power of humanities and how your project helped to do that. Definitely focus on originality and how your project will interpret the improvement of participants, their media literacy skills in a uniquely innovative way. So we're looking for originality, the uniqueness of your programs, and how will your humanities scholar help shape and lend intellectual authority. So you may have a program manager that has created a media literacy program. Your humanities scholar will then help you dig deeper into that program to be able to offer, to be able to maximize the offering to your students. So I like to see how those relationships and how those connections work throughout the grant period. And we want to see it in your application. What does that look like? What have you and your humanities scholar come up with as your humanities disciplines, and how will you share that with your students? How will your humanities scholar help shape it and lend an intellectual authority to the project, which is kind of the same piece of that, and then outline the knowledge, skills, expertise, or opportunities your organization would bring to the cohort experience and the overall grant program. Very interested in seeing what will you bring to the entire experience as well as to your peers and the students that you will serve. So new eligibility requirements for 2020. So this is across all of our grant programs. This change has happened to submit an application for 2020 and beyond. So your organization or your fiscal sponsor must be a DC-based 501c3 nonprofit organization. So you must have a DC address for your organization. That must be the address. It cannot be a PO box. You cannot have a fiscal sponsor that their address is in New York and you are doing the program in DC and that's your fiscal sponsor. You need to have a DC based program. The organization must be registered and in compliance with various agencies as applicable. And so I've listed the 4 agencies. 3 are DC government and 1 is the federal government. And so you can go through the application and see the specifics there, but just making certain that everybody knows that that is different for us than it has been in the past. And so obtaining the citywide clean hands certificate from the Office of Tax and Revenue. Humanities DC has not requested that in the past. And so make sure you go through the checklist and look at all 3 agencies, all 4, and make certain that you are in good standing and can provide that information within the application. And then the final one is all applicants must comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. Most organizations do, because in order to do business in a lot of areas, you have to be compliant. If you are not, most of the time that means it's a smaller nonprofit, but this will allow you to, as I say, get your ducks in order. And so this grant opportunity, this application will allow you to look at what plans that you'll need to be in compliance of the act, and then how will the project be inclusive, diverse, equitable, and accessible. And this is kind of an investment that if you don't already have it, it's an investment not just in we're going to submit for this grant, but in your organization. Because if you're applying for these local funds, if you're applying for national funds, federal funds, you will need to have these above items in place. So hopefully, once you get this done, you'll be ready for additional funding if you have not already done so. Qualifying questions. Again, you must be a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in DC. If you are not a 501c3 nonprofit, we will not be able to review your application. And that is the first thing that we check. So make certain that your organization, or if you're looking at a fiscal sponsor, has a current 501c3 nonprofit status, tax exempt status. Is DC one of the communities or the neighborhoods? That is a must that you operate in DC and that this program happens in DC. Right now, the project grant period will occur July 15th 2020 to March 15, 2021. And then have all of your organizations previously held Humanities DC grants been closed out successfully. So if your organization has an open Humanities DC grant opportunity, you are not eligible to apply until it closes out, until the end of the grant period, and you have closed out successfully. If your fiscal sponsor has is a fiscal sponsor for another project, you are eligible. Fiscal sponsors that are DC based are eligible to be the fiscal sponsor for more than one project. If you are a fiscal sponsor, however, you cannot then apply for a grant with Humanities DC as a grantee, only as a fiscal sponsor. If you need to walk through that and discuss that a little bit further, please give me a call, as with anything else within this webinar or about our grant opportunities. Again, will the proposed project result in at least 2 lesson plans that you can submit to Humanities DC for the DC Digital Museum? You must be able to release the lesson plans and submit them to us. Yes, you will be able to continue to use them, but we will need to put those, a requirement is to put those in the DC Digital Museum. That's the final product for this grant opportunity. Does your proposed program have the commitment of a humanities scholar? You must have that as a part of your application and your program. And does your proposed program have the commitment of a Pulitzer Prize nominee or a plan to secure the nominee? Additional requirements and information. Project directors working on each awarded partnership grant will be required to attend a kickoff. Right now, the kickoff for the grant ceremony for the grant award is July 2020. The media literacy grants, as well as all of the other Humanities DC grant opportunities, require a 1-to-1 match. If you are requesting the $10,000 from us, we will need to see that you are able to match the funds with $10,000, either cash or in kind. And I'll go into that a little bit more in the next few slides. The grant staff will schedule several required technical assistance sessions, and this grant period is not a year, so will not be 4, 2 to 3 that we'll schedule over the period of time, and it may be in person, on the phone, or webinar. All projects must participate in joint marketing and communications. We will outline that to awardees as it relates to communications and with the grant and the final product. And again, archived in the DC Digital Museum at the end of the grant period. So your grant application will ask you to outline your project team. So in the very beginning, you must list your organizational sponsor, which is your fiscal sponsor, or the organization 501c3 who is applying for the grant. You must outline a project director for the grant, a humanities scholar, a Pulitzer Prize nominee, and a project bookkeeper. The bookkeeper cannot have any other role in the project except for serve as the project bookkeeper. Application budget. We will provide a template. It's in the application. Please complete the application budget template. Only the budget template. Please do not submit a separate budget. We want these categories and only. If you are requesting $10,000 from Humanities DC, please outline your budget and the Humanities DC funds requested of $10,000, and these are the breakdowns you are allowed. For the next 2 columns, your cost share, which is your match, there's a cash item and there's an in-kind category. So please break down that $10,000 in those 2 categories, and the total budget for the program will be $20,000. We will then ask you for a narrative. So please provide a narrative for the $10,000 that you are requesting. The amount for honorarium, I am requesting $500 to my humanities scholar. I'm requesting $500 to my Pulitzer Prize nominee. I am requesting $500 for salaries and wages. I am providing cash of $3,000 for my salary and wages. So please include your narrative. And here is more of a breakdown of that, the narrative, an example of how to complete it, whether it be salary and wages for the project director or any facilitators, and again, the one-to-one match. What do we fund? So on the left is Humanities DC grants funds that are allowable, and on the right is where we do not fund. So project supplies, venue rental fees, speaker or scholar honoraria, project transportation, equipment rental, marketing and promotion, exhibit design or construction and project consultant fees, and they must be program related only. Humanities DC grants, we do not fund general office supplies, so pens, pencils, memo pads, only project supplies. We do not pay office rent, overhead or utilities, no food or budget. Please do not beverages. Please do not add food and beverage to your requested funds from Humanities DC. You can offer on the cash or in-kind side for food and beverage, but please do not include that in your narrative on the requested budget funds. And then the production of visual or performing arts projects we do not cover, or memberships for anything for the group, for the project, we do not cover memberships or the organization. The do's and don'ts. I think I've gone through mostly everything. Definitely break down the items on your budget. State clearly the goal of your project and how you'll achieve it, how it will benefit the people of DC. Definitely try and anticipate and answer reviewer questions. And so below I talk about have a friend or colleague read over the application, have someone that you trust read over the application. It could be someone else in the office. And then those questions that that person asks you, go back and make certain that it's answered in there, because I think your grant reviewers are people. Some of them are scholars, some of them, they're all walks of life. So they could look at the grant applications and ask them really good questions. And so make certain that you have all of those questions answered and be prepared for that. Do include partner organizations, letters from partner organizations acknowledging the partnership, but do not include letters of support from partnerships or organizations that are not involved directly with this program. So the terms are very much the contract that you'll sign with us. You agree to document all the expenditures, which is why you need a bookkeeper. We will request reports, narrative, and budget throughout the grant program, but at the end, we will need all of the receipts and things like that. So everything to be documented, we will review those throughout the project, but definitely, need an assigned bookkeeper to keep things in order. You will receive 100% of the amount requested when awarded. So the $10,000 you will receive at the beginning of the grant program. You'll be required to submit those reports throughout the program. Any changes in the scope of the project or the budget, you'll be in communication with me, and I will assist you in responding, whether it be in writing to me. If it is a 10% of the budget, if that is a change greater than 10%, we'll definitely need that in writing. And the applicant organizations will sign the grant conditions at the beginning of the grant that are legally binding. So 100% of the grant funds must be applied to direct program costs. That kind of goes back to the do's and don'ts, what we'll fund. So it must be applied directly to the media literacy program. If you do have a fiscal sponsor, we do allow up to 10% to be awarded to the fiscal sponsor for related project fees. Lastly, the two lesson plans must be submitted to Humanities DC at the end of the grant program. How to submit an application. So the application is available on our website, humanitiesdc.org. Here is the link. It is under grants, and it's the Youth Media Literacy grant. You click request for a proposal. The complete RFP will show up there, and there's a button to click to apply. When you are in the grant portal, if your organization has never applied for a Humanities DC project, go ahead and create a new account. If your organization has or your fiscal sponsor has, please read the information on the right to make certain that you're not creating multiple logins for their organization. And you can receive the application once you log in. There is a button on the application portal that says question list, and you can print out the entire application there at any time. And the RFP again is on the website. If you have any questions regarding this grant program, the Media Literacy Grant Program, or any others, please do not hesitate to give me a call. Because we are all working off-site, please shoot me an email, probably be able to respond to that quicker. Please review the webinar. I will also post the slides for you separately. And please, again, ask any questions after reviewing the RFP, and we can assist you. Remember, the applications are due May 19th, so I'm available to chat anytime between now and then. Thank you so much for your time. Again, my name is Andrea Carol McNeil. Can be reached at amcneil@wdchumanities.org, and the application can be found on our website at your convenience. Thank you, and do have a great day, and we look forward to hearing from you.